talk to you this morning on the subject saved by grace. Now, it's never been told how that we were the enemies of God, didn't deserve God, didn't love God, didn't know God, and He shed His matchless, everlasting, eternal grace upon us. The Bible tells us here, without it, everybody knows we'd surely be lost. There must come a day in your Christian life when you realize that it's not of yourself that you're saved. I remember when I first got saved, I tried real hard to live for God. And after I'd been saved about 6 months, I tried real hard to live for God. I tried every day of my life to live for God. And it seemed like the harder I'd try, it seemed like the sorrier I got. And it seemed like the more good I tried to do, that the more I found myself messing up. It seemed like the closer I got to God, the more dirty that I looked to myself. And I was in frustration. And it bothered me. And I went from church to church and from preacher to preacher, and I read the Bible, and it said verses that scared me, and it bothered me. And I thought, Lord, if I don't live up to this certain standard, maybe God will depart from me. Maybe I won't make it to heaven. And I was scared, and I was in turmoil. But blessed be that day, one of the greatest days of my life, when it dawned on me that it was by God's grace that I'm going to heaven, and plus nothing, not one little bitty tiny thing could I do to take my soul to heaven. I tell you, a lot of times we try to work for God's favor. You can't do it. We try to work for God's salvation. You can't do it. The Lord teaches us that it's by His eternal grace that we're saved. I tell you, brother, when I go up there to the airport tomorrow morning, up yonder to Asheville Airport, when I go out yonder and I see that big old DC-10 or that 747 or whatever they put me on, I see that big old thing sitting there. I ain't going to go up to that thing and I'm going to throw my luggage over there and ride around the tail somewhere. I'm going to get a hold of that wing, you know, and I'm going to get on that thing and I'm going to say, if I can just hold on, if I can hang on till I get to Michigan, I'll make it all right. I ain't going to do that, brother. The wind had blown me off before we got out of North Carolina. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to walk up to that door and I'm going to present my ticket. And that woman's going to say, come on in. You got a ticket. I'm going to go in there, brother, and sit down and lay back and put my tape player on and leave the flying up to the pilot. That's how come we can shout this morning. That's how come we can go to heaven. I tell you, brother, we're not trying to get to heaven. We're just enjoying the ride, brother. We're leaving the flying up to the pilot. You say, what if you blow off? I can't. I'm in the plane, brother. He's our captain. He's a flying, and we're going through on the other side. And if you're here this morning and you thought about becoming a Christian, but you think you just can't do it, and you thought about being saved, and it just feels like it's just too high up for you to reach, and you just don't think you could attain that spiritual level, and you just don't think you could make it up there, I've got good news for you this morning. I've got good news for you today. Christ receiveth sinful men. Christ receiveth sinful men. Sing it over and over again. Christ receiveth sinful men. I never will forget when in those days when it began to dawn on me that it was strictly by God's kindness and by His grace that He'd save me. Boy, I tell you, that put a shout in my soul. That'll liberate you. You know it? If you're in bondage this morning, that'll liberate you. And you know what most people that go to church do? They're trying their best to get to heaven. That's what they're doing. I've been out giving out tracts, and I'd say, sir, could I give you one of these? And the man will say, well, I don't go to the same kind of church you go to, but we're all working to get to the same place. I've heard people over. Brother, that is a miserable way to have to live. Trying all your life to work to get somewhere, and you still don't know if you're going or not. David was in his palace one day, and he got to thinking. He said, I love Jonathan. I'm going to show some of Saul's kinfolk's kindness for Jonathan's sake. Not for their sake, but for Jonathan's sake. Now this morning when God saved me and you, it wasn't nothing but me and you had done. It wasn't nothing that me and you were. There ain't none of us in here deserve to go to heaven. There ain't none of us. Don't you ever get self-righteous and stick your chest out and think that there's something good about you that made God save you. The only reason God saved you is for Jesus' sake. That's the only reason. If Christ hadn't have died for you, you would have went to hell like a bullet. I don't care what you done. I don't care how good you were. If Christ hadn't have died, every man would go to hell. I'm here to say this morning, He's had a purpose. He had kindness. It was a voluntary act of kindness, unmerited, undeserved, unrecompensed favor of God. He loved us. Listen, folks, I'll explain to you what grace is. When a man works and earns something, that's a wage. When he competes with somebody else and beats him and gets it, it's a prize. When you get something for service, that's called an award. But when you can say nothing and do nothing and be nothing and accomplish nothing and still get it, that's grace. I'm here to tell you this morning, God saved us for Jesus' sake.